Hey everybody, welcome to Drop In. Each week we discuss a topic about our drinking water and some of the best ways to save water. This week we're talking about where our water comes from and why it's some of the best water in the country. We also have our Know Your H2O trivia question this week, which is which two watersheds supply our drinking water? And we'll give you that answer later. I'm Melissa Levo, Water Conservation Program Manager with the Saving Water Partnership. We are a group of 18 water utilities in the Puget Sound region that offer tips, tools, and rebates to help our customers preserve water for future generations. I'll be joined in a moment by my co-host, Jourdan. Jourdan works at the Cedar River Watershed and is going to tell us all about the watershed today. One of the reasons that we wanted to talk about this topic was that our group actually did some customer research this year. And we talked to our customers about how they use water, how they might want to save water, what kinds of information. One of the questions that we asked, where their water comes from. And a lot of people had really never thought about it before, and they answered things like their pipes, or maybe there's a reservoir somewhere. And so we wanted to talk about that to get some more information. And there's Jourdan. Hi.
Hi. Nice to see you.
You too.
Yeah.
So I gave our intro and I talked about, we're talking about where our water comes from this week.
Oh, yeah. Great. Well, hopefully there's some folks joining us again from last week. Welcome. And if not, just to introduce myself again, I'm Jourdan Keith, and I am a watershed public education specialist at the Cedar River Watershed. And it's a municipal watershed, actually. And I mean, that's an important clarification because we'd like people to know that the source of our drinking water for King County, Snohomish, the area around Seattle, comes from a protected area we call the Cedar River Watershed. And by it being a municipal watershed, it means that we own it, that the public owns it.
Yeah.
And so, So it's a 90,000 acres of forested land. So the Cedar River Watershed, if you were in North Bend, you could come and visit us. And normally I would be so excited to have you come and to show you the waterfall and to show you the dam that's used to hold the water and all of that. But as everyone knows, we're not able to go and do that right now because of COVID. So,
yeah,
there are, yeah.
It is such a shame. I was fortunate enough to be able to go visit the watershed once, and it is really an incredible experience.
Yeah, it's incredibly beautiful, and so many people spend time and money and thinking about buying water from someplace else, but our water comes from a protected area, and that's managed by the city of Seattle, and the 90,000 acres that's protected. What that means is, well, for me, if you were with me, I would tell you that I'm like James Bond now. I've always wanted to be James Bond and had this special key that no one else could have. And that's really true for the Cedar River Watershed. This municipal protected watershed means that only a few of us have this key to access it. And the reason that's really important for the quality of our water is that the land is protected from human activity. And that means that the quality of the water is protected. So it's this beautiful forested land where there's no hiking allowed and no one lives there and there's no agricultural use.
Yeah.
And all of these things, right, to keep the land protected, to keep the water protected. And you can go on a tour of it. That's how we open it to the public. You can go on a tour with somebody like myself or the other watershed education specialists who would show you about where we get our water from. But we actually have staff. There's about 40 of us, and of those staff, there's water protection specialists, that make sure the boundaries of the watershed are protected, that over 90,000 acres. That's one of the sources for the drinking water in our area, along with the Tolt
Hey,
watershed.
away the answer to our Know Your H2O question. Uh-oh.
I bet you nobody remembers.
So yeah, our Know Your H2O question was which two watersheds supply our drinking water? And one of them is the Cedar River watershed that where the education center is based. And then we also have the Tolt watershed, right? And that's further north.
Right.
And actually, depending on who provides your water, there might be some other water sources in there. Some places source their water from wells to, but for our drinking water that we all share in the Saving Water Partnership, it's the Cedar River and the Tolt. Yeah, and I think actually, I don't know. Maybe we need to back up? I can't remember. Did we define what a watershed is? Like what a watershed does?
No, we didn't. And a lot of people of all ages don't really know. It's a word we throw around, but I like to show the way that we do for youth and adults. If you're out there and watching, or later on, if you put your hands together and you look at your hands cupped together and think of I don't know if you're doing it with me, but if you look the tops of your fingertips and think of those as the Cascades, our mountain range, right?
Okay.
Snow falling on that, and then as part of the water cycle, the sun eventually melts that snow and it runs downhill.
Okay.
So if we were in our normal class with our 4th and 5th graders, I'd ask you, well, where's that water going to land? Melissa, you give me my 4th grader today. Melissa, where do you think that water will end up on your hand?
Probably down towards my wrist. They'll run down, right?
Eventually. Where will it pool, do you think? Where will a lot of the water gather?
In my palm.
Exactly. Yes. I like to think of it as the palm of the earth, because I like my poetry helps me to remember how a watershed works. These lakes are like the palm in the earth.
Oh,
and
really cool.
Thank you. And one of the place where our water gathers in the Cedar River shed is now called Chester Morris Lake. Its original name is Nuknu. That's the Lushootseed name of it, and it's the place of gathering waters. That's what it means, the place of gathering waters. Nuknu. Yeah. So the Cedar falls into it. The Rex River come into it. And why it's so important to us is, we call it the forest to faucet, to understand the link. It's not just that water is over there, but the water is all running downhill from the Cedar River watershed to eventually come out of your faucet at home, or flush down your toilet, or water your lawn.
Yeah, I think that's so cool to think about how all the water that we use in our tap is coming from up in the mountains, and it's this valuable, precious resource that we all share in our region, and we share it with the wildlife up there. I think that's something that is really valuable to keep in mind as someone who works in water conservation. Just knowing that and keeping that in mind all the time, I think is really valuable. So, Jourdan, you're telling us all about this and talking about tours, but obviously, right now everything's closed. We're not doing stuff in person. What is it that people can do right now if they want to learn more about the watershed?
Well, we have some virtual watershed tours that you can take. So you can go, I suggest that you go to our Facebook page, which is Cedar River Watershed Education Center. And from there, you'll find out some cool links to where you can go on a virtual tour and see some photos of some of the beautiful wildlife as well that's happy to be in the watershed. That's a great way to experience it and have a nice visit. And the area around it is Rattlesnake Lake Recreation Area. The hike is closed because of protecting folks from being too crowded on the trail, but the lake is a wonderful place. And then that lake is called Rattlesnake Lake. And on a different episode, I'll tell you how Rattlesnake Lake got its name.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I know. I've been up there, but I think the first time I was there, I didn't even know that it was associated with our water source. So it's a really cool thing for people to have in mind when they're up there. But
Yeah, we don't drink from it, but it is associated. That's my mystery question.
oh.
You can, if you think you know the connection, you could type in the comments later, and we'll see if you know. Since I blew our watershed. Sorry.
Oh, that was great lead in. So yeah, I think, yeah, so people can go check out the Cedar River Watershed Education Center Facebook page. As always, if you're wondering about ways you can save water, you can go to savingwater.org and learn more there. And otherwise, we'll hope to see you next week. And thanks for coming in. Ready? Cheers.
Cheers.